Hi everyone, this is Sagar Shah and I'm here with a very interesting game to show you. This happened just yesterday in Ahmedabad, Gujarat, where Vishy Anand took on 20 young talents of Gujarat chess. Okay, I'm going to talk about this event more in detail later, but right now just to show you how the settings were. First of all, this is the Sanskardham Sports Academy which is going to be launched, and Anand is there for the inauguration of it. And this was the setting. So you can see the stage back there where Vishy was sitting on the chessboard and he was playing against those 20 players on your right. You can see over there who were, so it was something like this. Anand on the left with a chessboard and 20 players discussing with each other on what the best move would be and then playing with him. So this is how they would all discuss and come up with a move. And as you can see, the girl in the picture over there is Vishwa Vasnawala, right on the left of the coach. She is already 2100 rated. So it was not a very easy game for Anand to play, and that's why I'm going to go over this game and show you what happened. Okay, so it began with 1e4. Vishy was white and he had 10 minutes against 20 minutes for his opponents. c5, knight f3, knight c6, and it seemed like it was going to be a Sveshnikov, but then d6 was played, and here Anand was a little smart. He could have played bishop g5, which is the main line and what he plays against the classical, but he went f3. The point is, he expected that someone would come and play the dragon, because somehow before this game there was some kind of a practice game and there people had played g6 and the dragon. So Anand was happy to face it. bg7, queen d2, castles, and now bishop c4 is the main move here, as we all know, stopping d5 in this position. But Anand played long castle, and this is also one of the main moves here, but it allows black to play the move d5. And as you would have seen before sometimes, that if you take and something like this pawn sacrifice is already very good compensation for black. He moves sometimes his queen. I think there's one line, queen c7, and then you take on a8. I hope I'm not going wrong here, but then bishop f5 threatening a mate here, and also the queen. So you get queen into f8 and you sacrifice your queen for two rooks. Something like that happens. But Vishy had nothing of it. He just moved his queen back to e1. And his point is that you cannot take here because it launches a discovered attack on the queen. And queen e1 also is not the most popular move. The most popular move in this position is ed, knight d, knight c6, and here not to take on d5 but bishop d4. So he assumed that the youngsters would be well prepared in this line after e5, bishop c5, and this is a very well known exchange sacrifice. If you cannot really take here, I can take threatening bishop h6, also rook b8 could come in. There are so many threats and very good compensation for the exchange. But Anand went queen e1, and these are the small smart decisions which a world class player like him takes, who's not just experienced in over the board play, but Anand is also very experienced in giving simultaneous and going to places, playing against these exhibition games. So e5, knight c6, bc6, and until now everything was going on pretty well. Knight into d5 would have been the best move in the position, but the youngsters played the very logical move c into d5, and it didn't seem that anything was wrong here. But Vishy was very well prepared. He played bishop to g5, and this is where I think the game was already beginning to get really tense, because Anand was, I think, instill his theory, while the youngsters were trying to now figure out on their own as to what is to be done against the threat of knight into d5. For a minute, I would like you to put yourself in Anand's shoes. You are a 5-time world champion, and you have been called to this place to give a simul against these youngsters. Well, if you win, everyone would be happy, but no real surprise because you are meant to win. But if you lose, this will be a big news everywhere. So there's always a lot of pressure on him, But Anand being Anand, he can handle it pretty well. Bishop e6, good move by black players. The point is, queen into e5 makes no real sense because of good job if you found the move h6, because bishop into f6, bishop f6 is completely winning for black. You have queen moving here, rook moving here, this bishop killing down the diagonal. And if you go back bishop to h4, then after g5 and knight e4, black has excellent compensation. I mean, black is just winning material. Queen into e4 is forced, and this is good position for the black player. So bishop e6 was played, and Vishy cannot take on e5. So what can he play? Black looks to have sort of kept everything in order in the center. It's white to move. I would like you to pause the video for a bit and find the move. Well, if you are a dragon player, then you would have found this move easily because it's still theory. But if you are not, bishop c4 is the best move, putting further pressure on the d5 pawn. And here the point is d4, which looks like the most obvious move, doesn't really work well because of bishop e6, fe6 and knight to e4. And I like this solution for white because next I will take on c3, f6, and I will have a strong knight against not so great bishop. But there is also a tactical way to refute d4, and that is queen into e5. I wonder if Vishy would have found this or he remembered his analysis. Because after bishop c4, rook d4, there is this nice move, knight to d5. And you will see that this bishop is now looking at the queen, the rook, and also things are happening down here. But here is where white plays a very powerful move, and that is queen into g7. Well done. Takes and bishop into d8, and after knight c3, rook c4, knight a2, king b1. This is just a very pleasant endgame for white. He's pawn up and will press on forever. Okay, queen c7 was what Carlsen had played once against Liko, and this seems like the best move because after bishop f6, dc4 takes, and this position is reached. But I think white is definitely at least slightly better here after queen to c3. The youngsters, they didn't go for queen c7. After bishop c4 here, they didn't go for queen c7, nor did they go for d4. They played the move queen b6, and Vishy just took the pawn here. And I think white is definitely better. The first move which came to my mind was e4, and here b2 is hanging, but then after rook b5, queen c7, queen into e4, white has now two pawns. But I still feel that this is what black should have played, because after rook a e8, you see this bishop here, queen and the rook, they are all really nicely placed. And when there are opposite colored bishop positions, you don't really look after the material much. More important for you is whether you have the initiative or not. So definitely this should have been considered. But when you are discussing with everyone, you suggest this move e4, and then someone says rook b5, you don't really have the time to delve into the details. There's too many voices. So there, consultation with 20 players can have its own drawback. Now rook b8, threatening a mate on b2, bishop b3, rook f d8, Anand takes, and king b1. I like how he slowly now improves his position. After queen d4, he plays the move c3. And now bishop c2, queen went back to b5. Perhaps queen d2 was much better, trying to exchange queens, and who knows, maybe you are closer to a draw. But queen b5, queen f2, and here what would you play here as black? Well, for me it's clear that black can have no real chances in this game if he doesn't activate this bishop here. It has to become active, and that is why e4 had to be played. And you know what, here there is also a threat of bishop into c3. So this move would have put Anand under some definite pressure. Okay, he plays queen e3, ef3, queen f3, and white has things under control. But imagine just a move like bishop back, and this is so much better than what black was. because his bishop is now beautiful. So definitely a chance missed here by the black players to play e4. They played rook b8 and now Vishy played bishop b3, queen c2. And after rook d8 he went ahead and exchanged the another pair of pieces. He's pawn up and he's happy to exchange. King g7, a4 was played, and this is where Anand really showed his class. He played queen to d5, not afraid of queen exchange and opposite colored bishop endgame. Okay, queen c7 could have been played to keep the queens, but after king c2, this is just torture. You know, white is going to slowly move his pieces around, start pushing his kingside pawns, and black will be anyway lost. So the queens were taken, but white has a clear plan: get the king to b5 and then push your pawn to b4. And Vishy does that very easily here. Pushes his pawns perfectly. Well, he is one of the best in the world, and he won the game. So a very interesting game, I would say, and a very novel concept by the people from Gujarat. They found something very interesting and they did it. At the end of it, this is how things ended here. Vishy Anand shaking hands with Vishwa Vasnawala. It was like at the end to blitz out the moves. You had only two players, Vishwa and Dhyana Patel, and they played against Anand, and at the end this was the moment when Vishy won. But a great learning experience for the youngsters, and I hope you enjoyed the game and learned from it. This is Sagar Shah signing off. Take care.